Good day to all. I am very fortunate to have with us Mr. Ashok Mehta in a studio. He is one of the rare personalities in the Indian rowing family who has brought unprecedented laurels for his club and state as a rower, as well as being one of the most successful coach of today. We will bring to you all his untold stories and secrets of his success while interacting with him during a series of episodes. The first of it is called The Champion is Born.
It was in the year 1971 at Mulamutha River, Pune, in the state of Maharashtra. The championship was 31st edition of the Amateur Rowing Association of the East Regatta, or as we call it, the Erie Regatta. The venue was the Royal Connaught Boat Club. Few rowers from the Lake Club, Calcutta, captained by Mr. Lala Chatterjee, has just won the coveted Wellington Fours event by beating the formidable Calcutta Rowing Club. The young rower, aged 23, who was rowing at number 2, is specially very overjoyed as this was his 4th continuous winning of the Wellington Fours, which was and is a rare achievement till date. With no national championships as of today, the Erie Regatta was the only premier international championship an Indian rower used to dream winning of. The young rower was none other than Mr. Ashok Mehta.
71, it was Sumant at stroke, Chandan Roy at 3, myself at 2, and Komola as bow.
And coxed by?
And coxed by, I think, Nirmal Majumdar.
Let us hear from him about the boats used for the championship.
I have to go back a little bit. Yeah. First, we were given aluminium shell boats in Pune.
Okay.
And those boats were so heavy that even after taking a racing start, the boat could hardly move a couple of feet.
Okay.
So clubs from Lake Club and CRC, we all protested that this will take about 10 minutes for a 1,000 yards course. So this is impossible to row in. So then the host brought 2 AFCO fours. At that time they were all wooden, and as you know, AFCO is the name of a company used to make clinker boats.
Okay.
And those were also so heavy that it required about 10 to 12 people to bring down a boat into the jetty from the boathouse. So, but anyhow, it was slightly better than those aluminium boats. And one incident I very clearly remember was that during one practice, our rudder got stuck, and our cox carefully stood up, walked back on the canvas. It was not a canvas, it was a ply instead of a canvas. He walked up to the end of the rudder, fixed the rudder, he walked back, sat in the boat, and we started rowing.
Wow.
So now such an incident is a very rare thing for the boys, for their feet to know that a cox walking down on the canvas to fix the rudder, coming back and sitting into the boat and started his commands. Most probably it was the weeds.
Okay.
And very, very carefully the cox stood up, walked up to the top of the rudder, cleaned it, came back, sat in the cox's seat. It was a sight. We didn't have video cameras at that time, but it would have been a very rare privilege to picture.
The 4th clinch to the title was a build-up, which started year ago after they beat the Colombo team at Colombo a year ago. Would request him to narrate the countdown.
That is a very nice question you asked, Subhashish, because these days the young athletes should follow that. Actually, in August to September, we used to have the anniversary regatta at our lake club.
Okay.
And the winners in the anniversary regatta were called for the ARE camp. So you can say somewhere around August, September, maybe beginning of October, crews were lined up for the ARE.
Okay.
And you can say October, November, December, 3 months straight practice, and then in beginning of January, we used to have the ARE championship. So 3 months was the minimum practice required for an ARE during our time. ARE before that, it was in Colombo. In the semi-finals, we were against Colombo B.
Okay.
In Colombo, we were rowing the semi-finals against Colombo B. And it was another very tough race. I can still imagine, I can still visualize that race. That we were about a length down till mid-waters. And then in mid-waters, the Cox gave us a 10. Just can imagine at 500 meters, the Cox giving 10. And we responding to it. And ultimately, we won that race by half a canvas.
Okay.
The announcement was Lake Club A won by half a canvas, but they were not announcing the timing.
Yeah.
So we were eagerly waiting for the timing, and I could still visualize that scene. It was pin drop silence on the Colombo Boat Club lawn, and everybody, the umpires were running left to right, watching their watches, checking with each other. We didn't know what happened. Why are they announcing the time? What's the problem? So then one umpire said, a record has been created. The Lake Club B has broken all previous records of 3 minutes, 12 seconds in Colombo waters. This record, I think, was about 20 years back, set by some Karachi Boat Club or some other club, which we broke by 2 seconds. Colombo used to have shuttle boats, but the gunwale was a bit high because of the rough waters. The water was so choppy. To prevent that, they had a special gunwale to prevent water from coming into the boat.
Okay.
So, and the most funny thing was, Subhashish, at that time we used to row with wooden blades.
Yeah.
And each blade was around 4.5 kg. Compared to the blades youngsters are using today, it is hardly, I think, 2 kg. So, and the blade portion was so thin that we used to call it toothpick. Nowadays you have those barrels and smoothies and fat two and whatnot. But we had really slick blades like toothpicks on the front side. It was really great to have a record-breaking timing with those blades and heavy boats.
Yeah. And were the wooden blades the spade blades or that thin? There was 2 types of wooden blades.
No. There was no spades at that time. We used to call it toothpick. So just a narrow piece of wood.
Yeah.
Hardly 6 inches. Right.
How was the level of competition then?
Our strong competitors were CRC, which was more or less of all the, I would say, the expatriates, because in CRC all the expatriates were members at that time, and they were the tough competition. Also the CME was also coming up. They were not very good at that time, but they were coming up. Okay. So these two were very strong contenders. All foreigners at CRC. It was called the Henley of the East. ARE was known as the Henley of the East.
Mr. Mehta, can you recollect about your first ARAE in the year 1968, which many and you also admit was the turning point of your rowing career?
Not at all. It was all 4 of us were first time rowing in an ARE. because it was Calcutta and 1968.
Okay.
Lake Club Waters, and we were all very nervous at the start. But what was it that the Lake Club, we were Lake Club B, comprising of Sumant at stroke. There was a three who was Ayub Khan. He went to States.
Okay.
Myself was two, and Ravi Singh Bagga was bow.
Okay.
And we were coxed by Bisu Sen.
Okay, this was the first time ARE.
This was our first time in ARE 68.
Okay.
And Lake Club A, who we met in the finals, comprised of Lala Chatterjee as stroke, Chandan Rai as 3, Vijay Mehta as 2, and J.K. Roy as bow. And they were coxed by Chanduda, you know, Chandu Bose.
Yeah, a veteran rower.
Lake Club A and Lake Club B were in the finals. Okay. And we were really scared because stalwarts like Lala Chatterjee and Chandan, J.K. Roy, Vijay Mehta, they were all our opponents. And we had no chance of winning that race. We didn't even think of winning at that race. And the most exciting part was that we were neck to neck till Mosque Island. One stroke they used to get away, one stroke we used to get away. And then I don't know what happened. We just crossed the finishing post maybe a half a canvas before them. And from that race onwards, the next day the newspapers were calling us giant killers. Okay. We were called the giant killers because Lake Club A, Lalada and Chandan and J.K. Roy, they were all giants, all 6 feet 2, 6 feet 3, and we were hardly 6 feet at that time. So most of the newspapers' heading was the giant killers, Lake Club B beat Lake Club A for the Wellington Trophy. That was one great feeling. And yeah, I would go down a little bit memory lane. Actually, during the first anniversary regatta in 67, 68, I was not the two. I was in the reserves. And a person called Nopani, he was the actual two. So his bad luck, my good luck, he fell sick. I stepped in as two from the 68th anniversary regatta. Okay. That was my stepping. Otherwise, I would not have been in this crew at all. Had Nopani not fallen sick, I would still be in the reserves.
That means Nopani, you getting into the team at 68 was your turning point of your success.
Very true, very true.
Okay. Then in the later in 71, was it a cakewalk into the team, or it was the same team which had won in Colombo, which went on to also represent in 71?
Yeah, I would tell you a little bit on this. After 68 ARE, Ayub Khan, our three went to States. And Chandan Rai stepped into our boat in place of Ayub Khan. Because the Lake Club A crew, which was Alada, Chandan, Vijay Mehta, J.K. Roy, that crew broke. Because they had that was their last ARE. So Chandan was brought into our crew as a 3 in place of and that crew from 69, 70, 71, we were all 4 of us together and we used to practice daily. You can say the 1970 ARE was, you can say 3.5 years of practice. Okay. The same crew for all 3 years. And then Bagga went to States and Komol stepped in at 71.
Okay. So you are telling that the success of the 4th ARE is mainly due to the constant practice that you have been doing in a constant folds. In the same folds, you practice only a little bit changes here and there.
It was, yes, you are very correct. There was no change at all. We 4 of us used to practice every morning for 3 years before the 1971 ARE. The first ARE, Bagga receiving the trophies. Behind Bagga is myself. Behind me is Ayub Khan, and behind Ayub Khan is Sumant.
Okay. So at that time, everyone was 6 feet, around 6 feet or 6 feet above?
Touching 6 feet. I was the shortest you can find out. I was 5'10", 5'11". Ravi was 6, Ayub was 6'1", Sumant was 6'1". 20th ARE in Calcutta, Lake Club A and Lake Club B in the finals. This was the first time we won the the Wellington with myself, Sumant, Sen as Cox, Ayub Khan as 3 and Bagga as Bow. This was my first ARE.
Okay.
This is Lake Club A and Lake Club B in Madras, I think. This is in Madras. The background seems to be Madras. The right side is Lake Club A and the left side is Lake Club B. Yeah, in the center is Kawas Kapadia, who is nowadays in Australia. And the extreme right is Komol. Behind Komol, I think it is Chanduda, if I'm correct. And I'll just check up. Yeah, next to that is, I think, Deepen Bose. Standing behind Kawas is myself. Then is Ravi Bagga there. Chandan is there. Sumant is there. Gurnani is there. And Kumar is at the extreme left. Yes, this is 29th ARE, 1969. This is in Colombo. Lalada holding the Wellington Trophy. He was our coach. Next to Lalada, the short person is B. Sen, our Cox. Next to B. Sen is myself. And next to me is Ravi Singh Bagga. And on the left of Lalada is Chandan Rai. And next to Chandan Rai is Sumant Dogra. This is the crew which broke the record in Colombo.
Okay,
you can see our blades. No spade, no fat tube, no smoothie, plain wooden blades, 4.5 kgs each blade weight. Yes, this is Komol and myself. I think this is after winning the Venables sometime somewhere. Yeah, this is our crew in Pune.
Okay,
Sumant has stroke.
Yeah.
The Chandan has 3, myself 2, Bagga Bow. And Beast and Cox.
This was the same boat, this AFCO boat.
Same AFCO boat and clinker made, where Beeson could walk down the canvas and fix the rudder and walk back.
Okay.
What about your coach, sir, who trained you?
See, our first coach was, I would recollect, was Lala Chatterjee. He was the captain of Lake Club also. He was with us for 3 years. The same coach, the same crew for 3 years.
Okay.
And that was the reason we could do well in ARE, because same coach, the same boys, we could understand each other. The coach could understand us. We could understand the coach, and that gave results.
We heard a lot of Monish Sarkar when I joined rowing. So can you throw some light on Monish Sarkar?
Oh yeah, we used to call him Hitler. 6 o'clock outing means we have to leave the jetty at 6 o'clock. Mr. Monish Sarkar used to be on the bank at 5 minutes to 6, and if we don't reach him at dot 6 o'clock, he used to walk back home.
Okay.
He was that strict. 6 o'clock means we have to be ready for the training from the bank at 6 o'clock. Nowadays, I have seen, if you say next session tomorrow 6 o'clock, people wake up from home at 6 o'clock and reach the club at 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And during our time, we had a very good system. You will laugh at it. The crew member coming last into the club will have to sign for cold drinks for everybody.
Oh,
So that used to make us run into the boathouse before you become the last person and you have to sign 4 drinks. So this was a very interesting thing and it used to keep us on the toe.
okay.
What was your practice schedule like at that time?
Yeah, that's a good question your youngsters should pay attention to. Our practice used to start at about 5 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
Because Sumant was studying in St. Xavier's BCom. His classes started from 6 a.m.
Okay.
And as you know, St. Xavier's was very strict with attendance. So Sumant had to go back to classes by 6 o'clock. So we used to practice from 5 o'clock. Boat used to leave the jetty in pitch dark in the winters. As you know, Calcutta is very dark.
Yeah.
And the sincere coach Lala Chatterjee was also on the bank with his cycle. So 5 o'clock we used to start. Till 5:45 we used to practice. And then we used to go for running. And then we used to go for weight training. And we didn't have these modern gyms like these days. We used to have those free weights and chinning. Rope climbing was one of our very main exercise. We used to do rope climbing. We had a very big tree and thick rope was tied onto one of its branches and we used to climb up the rope and then climb down, which I think was a very good old method of training or developing your lats and biceps and triceps. These, I don't think any youngster nowadays can do rope climbing.
Yeah.
We had evening sessions because all of us were college students. We used to come to the club at 4 o'clock and we used to do 2 events in the ARE. Sumant used to do sculling and Bagda and myself, and later on Kamal and myself, we used to do pairs in the evening. And our evening was the Sumant in sculls and me in pairs. We used to pace each other while training. So every evening training was under pacing, which really helped us, which really developed.
We want to request him to throw light on the nutrition during their days, while giving tips to the present rowers about nutrition.
Yeah, that's a good question. We didn't have any supplements or anything at that time, but we used to depend on the natural food. Like after every practice in the morning, we used to have 2 bananas each, and we used to have an egg, used to have porridge, which the club used to give us. And same we in the evening also we used to have porridge, or sometimes we used to have milk and cornflake, and we used to have papaya or an apple. So we used to depend on natural food and natural fruits. And we used to have a lot of nuts, which we nowadays we call ground nuts and almonds and cashew nuts. So these were our normal diets.
We Indians are fond of having rice. Nowadays there are 2 distinctive school of thoughts. One advocates for having rice must for all power games, while others defy the same. During your rowing days, were you all fond of having rice or stayed away from having it?
Yeah, we used to have rice one time, mainly in the afternoon, and for dinner we used to have chapatis.
Okay. So you had
and at that time we were not that carbohydrate conscious and protein conscious. So it was not so scientific. Training was just concentration camp, I would say.
Okay.
And muscle developing.
And running?
Every day running was compulsory, either in the morning or in the evening. Like weekdays we used to run in the evening, and Sundays we used to go for morning running, around 4-5 kilometers daily.
After repeated coaxing to him, he shared his secret strategy to winning, while stating it is still a very important strategy, followed by the winning cruise till this date.
I would now take spell out a secret which we used to have was that after every outing, we used to have a team meeting in the dressing room. After every race, whether it was a heats or it was a semis or it was a final, whether we have won or whether we have lost, we used to have a team meeting of all the 4 athletes in the dressing room after putting back the boat in the boathouse. And we used to discuss the plus points and the minus points we had for that training. Suppose in a race, suppose it was say a heat, and even though we have won that race, we used to have a team meeting that where we lacked. What should have been our better timing prospects had we eliminated that problem? How was our racing start? Why was our racing start so weak? Why was our response to the 10 was weak? Every outing, after every outing, be it a routine outing, be it a normal race performance, we used to have a team meeting in the dressing room, which is lacking these days.
You have rightly pointed out, Mr. Mehta, that nowadays, due to an increased pressure for attending school, college, and office, these regular team meetings are being overlooked by most of our coaches these days. The absence of these meetings has enlarged the gap between their crewmates. Thus it is often seen that a crew may be rowing in the same boat, wearing the same vest, but there is no bonding between them, which is noticeable in the waters during a close race.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How many races you all had to row at that time, and over how many yards?
At that time it was a league system sort of there was no repechage or anything. Nobody had heard the word repechage in 68, 69 in India, I think. And we used to have the league. And the league, you can imagine, you have to row a minimum of 7 to 8 races before you reach the semis or the finals. It was terrible. And an athlete doing 2 events, so means you have to do about 20 races in 2 events before you reach the final.
Okay, so that means in a day you have to do in fours and pairs 6 to 7 races?
Minimum 5 races during ARE. You can keep in mind that you have to row. No grumbling, no shortcut.
Nowadays, if somebody is asked to race 7 races a day, they would kill the organizers. And that too, having 1,000 meter each race and with heavy boats compared to nowadays. It was a really hard job.
With that, we have come to the end of this inaugural episode, where Mr. Ashok Mehta has started sharing his memories.
Thank you, my dear friends. I hope this first episode of mine was not boring, and if you feel interested, you can log into my other episodes which will be coming soon. Hope you appreciate it, and if any suggestions for the future episodes, most welcome. Thank you once again, my fellow athletes.
Coming up in the next episode, Mr. Mehta will tell us about the splashes he and his teammates made on the first nationals, along with taking us deeper through the celebrations after the record-making performance. Would like everybody to again tune into the next episode next week, same time, and if you liked the initiative by us, please give us a like, subscribe our channel, so that you will be the first to view our videos, and share this video so that it reaches to your rowing friends and colleagues who shares the same interest about the sport. Bye for now. I'll meet you next week.